Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Waffle Flower Crafts. In today's video I'll be showing how to make a really fun interactive card using the brand new Therefore I Am stamp set. Here is the Therefore I Am stamp set. This just came out in our April release. This was illustrated by Big Bear and Bird. I'll be using that stamp set as well as the matching dies. I'll also use this older set by Big Bear and Bird. This is called Bear and Bird as well as the matching dies. I'll be using the A2 Nesting Rectangle 1 die set as well as the Nesting Circles 2 die set and the Pull Tabs die set as well. I have two A2 panels here, one cut from white cardstock and one cut from light blue cardstock. A2 panels are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to grab this medium die here from the Pull Tabs die set. This die here will cut a notch or a half circle into the panels here, so my tab for my pull tab will nestle inside. I'm going to stack these two panels directly one on top of the other, then position that die. Use some purple tape to hold it in place, and then I'll run it through my die cutting machine. The reason why I'm die cutting these two panels together at the same time is to ensure that that notch is in exactly the same spot in both those panels. I'll just remove the purple tape here, and then you'll be able to see that notch is cut out in both panels in exactly the same spot, so they line up perfectly. Now I'm going to move on to the nesting sets. I'm going to grab the largest die from the A2 Nesting Rectangles 1 die set and then position my panel directly inside that die. So this panel is the exact measurement of that die, so I got to get it right perfectly centered in there. And then I'm going to grab the largest circle from the Nesting Circles 2 die, position it in the center here, and then again using some purple tape to hold everything in place, run it through my die cutting machine, and I'll pull it out here so you can see. I really love both these die sets. They leave a beautiful stitched border around where they cut, and it's just a nice little detail. Now I'm going to move back to my white panel. I'm going to place the blue panel right on top here. That white panel is actually going to be my background panel. And I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending on this background panel. I placed that blue panel on top just so I could get my bearings of where I wanted my ink to go. I'm using a waffle flower dye ink to blend on this panel. This ink is called You Said What. It's a really beautiful light yellow. And just blending a little bit there so you have some color behind the images. Now I'm ready to stamp my images. I've pulled off several stamps from the Therefore I Am stamp set, and I'll pull off a couple floral stamps from the Bear and Bird stamp set, and I'll just place them here on some white cardstock, pick them up with my MISTI, ink them up with Tuxedo Memento Black, and then stamp them. I will ink all these stamps up one more time and stamp them again, just to make sure that these images are nice and bold and crisp. Tuxedo Black is actually a alcohol-friendly ink, which is good because I'm going to do some Copic coloring to these images. Now I'm going to move on to stamping my sentiment. The sentiment is from Therefore I Am stamp set, and I just centered it inside that banner, picked up my MISTI, inked it up, and stamped it. The sentiment says "Made with Love," which is really cute with these baking, cooking themed images. So I've already gone and Copic colored all these images as well as die cut them out with the matching die, and now I'm going to remove that spoon there from the bird. I'm going to use my scissors and cut around his wing. It will leave a little bit of that spoon on because I'm going to cut a border around his wing, so there will be a little bit of that spoon remaining, but I will show you a trick for hiding those little ink spots from that remaining spoon. So I've cut around him, leaving a little bit of border, paper border around his wing, and now I'm going to use a white gel pen and I'm going to color over the remaining portions of the spoon, and what this will do is it will look like this bird was completely die cut and there was never a spoon in his hand to begin with. This is a really great trick for avoiding masking. It only works for when you have small areas. You can't use this for a large area that you want to remove, but for small areas it works really great for hiding some ink. With my images all colored, I'm ready to work more on my pull tab. I have my front panel and my background panel here, one stacked on top of the other. Also the bear image. I'm going to nestle him inside where I'm going to later adhere him, but I'm just using him now to help me figure out where I need to position my track and where I want the track to stop. And I want the base of the track to stop just about a ½ inch from the top of his head, so I made a little pencil line to the side of his head there. And now I'm going to grab the dies, the pull tab dies, and grab that track die there, and I will line up the bottom of the track with that pencil mark that I made, and that's going to be where the image will stop. And then I'll also grab some purple tape here to hold it in place, and then I'll grab my top plate. And it's really important, the positioning of your top plate. You don't want to completely cover the panel, because then you'll cut the track completely through all the way to the top. As you see here, I stopped about a quarter of an inch from the bottom of the half circle notch that we cut earlier. This is to make sure that when I pull on my pull tab stops and doesn't come completely out and off of the track. So there you can see the track that I cut. It has a beginning and an end, and the track just cuts those two slit openings. Now I'm going to move on to cutting some other mechanisms for my pull tab. The actual pull tab and the little bridge, which are both those dies there. The long one is the pull tab, and that little piece, the little die, is the bridge. I'll also cut a tab from blue cardstock. The pull tab and the bridge I'm cutting from white cardstock. I'm just going to place these dies here on this cardstock and then run it through my die cutting machine. And that's it. All I need is the pull tab, the bridge, and the tab itself to construct my pull tab. So you can see here that this pull tab has this little notch that it creates or die cuts. You want to open up the flaps in that notch and fan them out. Now I'm going to feed those flaps through the slits cut by the track die. I like to do one tab at a time, so I kind of feed one of those fanned out tabs one at a time, and then the other one is a little tricky. I use my tweezers to kind of feed that through, and that helps a lot. So now I have both tabs fed through the slits cut by the track die, and now I'm going to fan them out. I'm going to place this panel down on my workspace here so I have a hard surface underneath to help me fan those out. And I'll zoom in here a little bit so you can see. I'm also going to use my folding tool just to help me fan those out. And as you can see here, it moves up and down. I just double check frequently to make sure that I'm not, nothing is holding on to the center channel too tightly so it won't slide up and down. So now I'm going to take that bridge. It's a little too big, and I'm going to cut it down with my scissors. It's a little too big because you would see some of it behind the bird. So I held the bird on top of there just to make sure, and yeah, it was a little too big. Now I'm going to grab some liquid adhesive here and just put a tiny amount, just a small amount on the very tip of those tabs. And then I'll grab my bridge, and I'll take that bridge piece and place it right on top of those two tabs. Use my tweezers here to get it just in place. And once I have it in place, I'll press down just a little bit of pressure to hold it in place till that glue gets a little firmer. I'm just going to check though before it gets too dry that it still will move. You'll see me check it here, give it a pull, and make sure I didn't push down too tightly and it's grabbing onto that center channel too tightly where it doesn't move, but it is moving perfectly, it's moving fine. So now I'm going to just set this aside and let this dry before I do anything else. So now that my pull tab is dry, I'm going to start to construct my card here. I have some foam tape already added to the back side of my front panel. I'm just going to remove the backing on my foam tape and then stick that right down onto the front of my card. Once I stick this down, I'm going to grab my bear. I've already added foam tape to the back of him, but if you notice, I avoided placing foam tape at the very top, about 3/4 of an inch at the top of his head. That's because that's where the bird is going to hide. So I went ahead and removed the backing on my foam tape, and now I'm going to place my bear inside the window, allowing enough room for the chef hat that's on top of the bird to show. And now I'm making sure my pull tab is still moving freely. And I'm now going to place it all the way down, push it all the way down, and then hold on to it and trim the excess on this pull tab. So just trim it off with a pair of scissors. I'm going to keep that excess piece and I'll use that for later. Now I'm going to pull it out a little bit and glue my actual tab and just line up the top of the tab with the top of the pull tab. And then I will turn this over here. And so make sure that's all even in place. Turn it over, and now I'm going to use that strip that I cut off, that excess part of the pull tab, and I am going to use it to secure my pull tab. So I'm just going to place a little bit of glue on the ends of it and then place it right over my pull tab, and that'll just kind of hold it in place so it doesn't slide around in the back. And now my pull tab is a little bit more secure. Now I'm going to move on to adhering the bird to the pull tab. I just took a little bit of my liquid glue and placed it right on top of the bridge. Now I'm going to take the bird and place the body of the bird right on top of that bridge. And while the glue is still liquidy and I can still make adjustments, I'm going to move this bird around and get it in just the right place so that the bird is hiding behind the bear's head when the tab is pushed completely down, but you can see the chef hat. So the chef hat looks like it's on top of the bear, but when you pull the pull tab, that's when you have this fun reveal where you see the bird is actually underneath that chef hat. So now I'm going to remove the backing on my foam tape on my banner, place my banner just below the bird, or I'm sorry, just below the bear. I'm going to grab some floral images that I colored earlier. These are from the bear and bird stamp set, and I'm just going to arrange them here around the circle opening. And then I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere all these floral accents down. The last thing I have to adhere is this little heart thought bubble from the Therefore I Am stamp set. I'm going to position it at the upper portion, so when you fully extend that pull tab, it looks like that little heart thought bubble is with the bird. Now I'm ready to adhere this panel onto my card base. I have an A2 top folding card base. I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive here and place it everywhere except for the pull tab itself. Because if I place any on the pull tab, then the pull tab will no longer move anymore. It'll be glued down to the card base. So I'm just going to hold it in place here for a second, and then my card is almost done. I have one last final step that I want to do. I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella pen here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of sparkle to the heart and several of the flowers and berries, and even the little cupcake that's on his cookbook. With my Wink of Stella all done, this card is completely finished. I really think this is a fun pull tab because it's a bit of a surprise. When the tab is completely closed, you can't see the bird at all, but when you pull the tab, then you have this really fun reveal of the bird hiding underneath the bear's hat. I hope you enjoyed today's card. If you have any questions on the products I use, please visit waffleflower.com, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.